pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, I hope that's right on cue. Sorry.
Well, if he's calling, you should answer.
Yes.
That was angels.
Prayer. One call I don't want to miss.
It depends on what he's calling for.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this evening and just for each in this for each our imperfections, not only as individuals but as a community. But we thank you for your grace and mercy and that you have great plans for us. You tell us so, and we thank you for that. We thank you that your plans for us are for good. And we pray that we take hold of those plans and those thoughts that you have for us and about us. And we pray that we take hold of them and make this community something more than what it is right now. Make it the kind of place, not that we necessarily want it to be, but that you envision it to be. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, Jan, if you would.
Public hearing?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Did we do the public hearing first?
Oh, Lord, I get it. Didn't miss that. I always felt bad for your dad when he goes through that. And I should have done the same thing. Yes. We'll open it up to the public hearing and Monte or Jan, I don't know if you want to give us.
Me, but this the public hearing for the budget estimate. So if there's anybody here from the public that has any questions on the budget, because we'll be voting on the first reading of the ordinance later on in the month.
Do we have any questions? If not,
So, I do
yes.
have a question. So, we're gonna be voting first reading, and then we'll have a second, and then is there a third?
No.
So it'll pass on the third. So, how public are the details? Like, line items in the budget? I know that
You can get
salary.
it anyway. That's how, I mean, they have to go on the
It's on the internet, and if I can get it.
And if
It's
somebody
on the internet?
Yeah,
It's on the website.
And if somebody does not have, the library still has free access to the internet too, so if somebody does not have Wi-Fi access, they can certainly go to the library. Go ahead, Monty, I'm sorry.
Well, it's on
Gateway.
Gateway, with the Department of Local Government Finances website.
And Mr. Merrill, if you wouldn't mind, when you air this, if you could, of course I realize this portion is probably live, but when you re-air, if you could put that website on the screen for everybody to access.
The information will be on there.
Awesome, thank you so much. Good question.
Is there a link to the, what'd you call it, Maryland, Monty?
Huh?
What was the website called again?
It's Department of Local Government Finances website.
Is there a link?
It's Indiana Gateway.
Indiana
Just type
Gateway.
Indiana Gateway. and-
Usually
Do we have that
We
link?
can link that to the city website.
That's what I was getting ready to ask.
Will do.
Good idea.
I will get that taken care of by tomorrow morning. Any other questions?
I do have another question. This was looking over some of the numbers, and I noticed that there's something like $418,300 budgeted for health, life, dental, and vision insurance under city council budget. But to my knowledge, the city council members don't get health, life, dental.
Right.
So why is that budgeted in there?
I don't know, but it's always been in there. It's the council. It's just under the council fund.
But that covers everybody.
It covers
Yeah, it's
everybody,
for
all the
For all the
fire,
employees,
police.
but it's under our fund,
Because we technically distribute it,
we're,
correct?
yeah, and we're kind of technically the employers of the,
Oh,
of the,
okay.
the council, all the city employees work for the council.
Yeah.
So and that's kind of the way the management, is kind of the management, I guess you could say that's part of management structure, I guess, does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
because none
that's
of you
why-
guys, and I don't either, in fact, have, I mean, it's available to me, but I
Yeah, but you
don't
don't-
have
yeah.
it either. So,
Yeah.
benefits, so.
Yeah.
Good question. You feel like you've been missing out, haven't you? Any other questions? If not, we will close the public hearing at approximately, let me get the right, 6:07. All right. Now, Jan, if you would, roll call.
Okay, Brandon Elmore,
Present.
Bob Leahy,
Here.
Nathan Conklin,
Present.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Peter Freas.
Here.
All right. And that alarm that went off, unfortunately, that was a reminder to me. That's what I have to do for myself, is always set myself alarms. Consent agenda. I trust that you've had an opportunity to review that. Any questions and comments? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I will move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have a first by Bob. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Tim.
Tim, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Consent agenda carried and approved. Department reports. Okay, I've got a few things. I apologize, so you might want to strap in and hold on. One announcement, been asked by the individuals that put on First Friday. This Friday for October will mark a First Friday event here at the community room next door and into the City Museum. So it's being actually put on, I believe, from the Art Association, or sponsored by the Art Association. And social, that space over there does allow for social distancing, and so we still obviously encourage mask wearing, being inside. So that is this Friday at, I believe it's 5:30 to 7 o'clock. And of course, as soon as I say that time out loud, I should have had absolute verification. But I know if you're there between those times, you'll be good. I don't think it starts at 5.
It used to start at 5, but it might be 5:30 now, so don't take my
Okay.
word for it.
Well, if you're fashionably late, that's my fault. So
5:30 is definitely.
I know for 5:30 the doors will be open for sure, and it is running until 7. I do know that for a fact. You have an insert in your packet regarding Manna Delights, which is the bakery seeking to open. They bought the building down here in the corner. They're seeking to open. I'm not asking you to take action on that today's meeting. What that is that is in there for your review, and so you're aware of what they're proposing. And that's also linked to the matching facade grant that Monte is working on to see, to allow us to uniformly offer enhancements or grant assistance, if you will, to local business owners and building owners in getting their buildings refaced and helping their business. And so they will make that building pop with what they've got proposed, because they're talking about a complete overhaul on the outside. And so for your consideration, and which we hope to be voting on the next meeting, in some form of a facade improvement proposal from the city's behalf, your opportunity over the next couple weeks is kind of review that, kind of wrap your head around some questions you may have or some things you'd like to see in such a grant, because a lot of communities are doing this now, where they'll say, hey, we'll give you X%, whatever that may be, whatever you guys are comfortable about or with, if you commit to XYZ%, So it's an opportunity to see to have buy-in on both ends and to see your community improved and certainly enhance the curb appeal of your community, hopefully enhance your assessed value of your community, and also hopefully enhance foot traffic. People coming in and sticking around because they want to check out businesses and they look inviting. So
I've got a couple of clarifying questions around that.
sure,
So
absolutely.
is that any existing businesses and or buildings only downtown or all of Union City?
It's up to you guys. Downtown is what we've always traditionally targeted, because that's a lot of times your Main Street programs, they're focused on the downtown. They're focused usually on the downtown area, but again, I don't think there's anything that restricts us from broadening that, as long as it's within the city limits, obviously. My idea is, I think I may have mentioned in passing to you, a couple of you guys, was setting up, we agreed to X amount of dollars total for facade improvement for the year. And then we offer like a percentage match, and we consider capping each individual project based on, you know, the idea that we could, the more projects that come forward, hopefully the more we can help. In other words, I wouldn't wanna commit 60,000 and then blow it all in the first project if they're proposing, you know, $180,000 renovation. But again, it's for you guys to decide. And another thing that entered my mind too is having a stipulation in there is like, if we get into October, November, and for whatever reason it's not been used, having some type of, you know, offer where we increase we have like a graduated match, you know, so I know you're taking a risk if you wait until then, but if you wait until then, maybe you get a 55% match from the city. I don't know. It's just, again, it's whatever we guys think is the best moving forward and that will enhance the community the most. And this is an opportunity to kind of dangle that carrot, if you will, in front of building and business owners.
All important question. Where's
Yes.
the money coming from?
Building projects.
Okay. How much do we currently have set aside in there?
We still have, how much do we still have in there currently? Isn't it 8? Yeah, city projects. I wanted to say it was in the 80s, but might be 70, 79. Sorry.
I thought I brought that with me.
And being a new guy, even though my dad was the previous mayor, I don't know where that money used to go. Can you give us some examples?
What do you mean, where it used to go?
Well,
That money is sitting in building projects?
Yeah,
Or city
yeah.
projects?
what did we use that for previously?
A myriad of things, isn't it? Matching for, we've used it for matching for street repair improvements, sidewalk improvements or repair. We've used it for various endeavors at the park or, gosh, I'm trying to think of all the different things. It's pretty much a catch-all.
Engineering costs.
Engineering costs, yes,
for
reviews,
planning,
studies,
development,
Brownsville, yes. Gosh. It pretty much, if you can think of it, the city projects is loosely based in its definition for a reason.
Okay.
Give you that flexibility.
So, do we typically utilize all that money each year?
I don't believe have we ever, well, yeah, I believe we've capped that out a couple different times, have we not, Jim?
Yeah.
So,
I guess what I'm leading up to is are we going to hurt other projects by designating this to facade matching?
well, yeah, great question. It's September 28th. We'll get an exact figure for you, but I still want to say it's for some reason 79 is sticking out in my mind. But once we,
Well, there's 99 in there at the end of August, but we probably spent about 10 to 20, so we're probably.
about 79 thereabouts is what's sitting in there right now.
1,000.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Yeah, $79. And so so we need a really stretch. And, but good clarification. And so, granted, one of the things we were considering was streetscape improvements. Those bids have not come in. I don't know if we'll have bids by the end of the year or not.
Well, it should have, but,
And
yeah.
And we don't know what those are gonna look like. And our match for that could be anywhere from 20 grand to 70, 80,000, you know? I don't know what our bids are gonna look like and coming into us.
What's streetscape?
Finishing this, the street design up front. We've got the rest of the street to go and partially down
Especially down Oak Street.
Oak Street, yeah. And it's to try to match what's been done previously. We did earn a, was it $70,000 or $75,000 grant toward that, that we're trying to make hay with, if you will. I hate to turn my nose at $75,000 that's being given to us. But again, we've got to have those bids come in, and then we've got to be able to match the dollar amount, you know, according to what the bid is. If those do come in before the end of the year, like we hope, then that's going to eat XYZ amount of money. I don't know what that is yet. It could still leave 30, 40 grand in city projects, which could be a couple facade projects. Like in this case, you know, down there, it could be a sizable shot in the arm for them, depending on how you guys structure, you know, a facade improvement.
Is it going to be future only, or if anybody did any work in the last year or two, could they apply for it?
Ooh. What's that?
Retroactive?
Yeah, I would make it going forward.
Okay.
Good question, but I would make it going forward to be safe.
The only reason I ask is the old copies building, what Dan Rismo.
Oh, yeah, and he has received some assistance he applied through the Preservation Society.
Okay,
Yeah, and he did receive some assistance. Now, he's done a boatload of work on his own.
yeah, I know.
He's done a tremendously large boatload of work on his own. But the preservation did provide a little bit of assistance to him. It was not there's rumor or scuttlebutt out there that it was a 50-50 match or something. No, it was not.
Okay.
What it's amounted to, it's been a drop in the bucket compared to what he spent. But it was assistance nonetheless.
Well, I don't want to discourage local business owners from people that actually don't live, reside, or do business here currently, asking for money, and they technically don't even live here. So, I'm afraid that we're going to tick off some people down this way that have been here for 30 years, and they hadn't utilized any city resources, but now this one, who's just happening to come to town and start a business. I like the concept, but I know as a tightening budget, I think we could get into a sticky situation.
Well, there's where I would propose making available to 4 or 5 different, capping it out where you make 4 or 5 projects quite viable. Where, to me, from my experience, and Tim may have a completely different slant on this, but from my experience, if you offered to do 4 or 5 projects, that would exceed what we normally get approached with in a year's time
Yeah,
in the community.
I'd say
That'd be fair?
yeah, that's fair.
So, so to your point, that's a great point, but if we were only doing 1 or 2, I'd be very squeamish.
Okay.
But if we propose to do, if we structure it to where we can do 4 or 5, then I think we've got the wiggle room to.
The only caveat I'd put on that is if we start doing this and the success is seen, then we may get more requests.
And that's true.
But eventually that will level off just because the bulk of the work will be done eventually in terms of that. So
And to me, that says it's successful then too.
the,
If you're drugging up
I was gonna say that.
the desire to do something, that
Sure.
means, to me, doing the grant matching program in itself meets its objective.
Mhm.
Jan, can you have for us at next meeting how much money will start the January 2020 in that fund?
January 270,000.
270 was how much it will start with.
Hey, Nathan, also just to throw another thing for you guys to think about, you have 2 other downtown business owners that are basically researching and getting ready to come and ask for the same thing.
Okay.
The Tapias are just business owner number 1.
Oh, yeah.
That's put numbers together and are making a presentation. So you do have other businesses already interested in this same project.
Okay. Personally, my biggest concern is was it 270,000 when we used it all in years past, or has it been upped this year?
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that.
Okay. Just because if we've used it all before in doing city business
I
and
can give you.
events and things like that, I don't want to handcuff us into a new cool project, but also limit all the events we're doing.
Right,
So-
right, absolutely, absolutely. Well, and it's still, if you look at all the things we've done traditionally, previous, and Tim will attest to this, you take it on a case-by-case basis in terms of what you can do.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing to say, you couldn't put language in there that says, this will be reviewed quarterly by the council or so forth. If we get to July, it's like, we've done one project, but we've got this waiting in the wings for wherever in the city. We better put the brakes on this for now. That's what we do.
Well, I feel like we could put together a general template and then, but without plugging in the numbers immediately too, and that's, you can set the template up and allow the numbers to flex, get that all put together, and then tailor it to what revenue you feel that's available.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
Monty, is there another city template you're modeling this after?
Oh, yeah, they're all over the place, they're doing that anymore, so.
Okay.
yeah.
I wasn't sure, do they dedicate a certain amount of funds each year? I'm still, and I
Yeah,
like
and
this
it's
concept. But,
It's usually not a lot,
okay,
it's supposed to be kind of help you, but not like subsidize you.
so Can you
Like,
give us
a lot of them be like $5,000.
okay, that's what I was looking for. Okay.
Like a maximum.
Some paint or sidewalks or something, you know,
Yeah.
something like that would be.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, look for that in the next council meeting. Division Street, we've had some concerns of traffic speed down there, so our chief of police has done a traffic study, and it's still ongoing, and it's producing some really good data, and I forwarded your guys' way, so feel free, it's public domain if you need to share it with anybody in terms of if they're curious. So that's currently in review. Our new
Chad,
street,
on that,
yes.
on that, you'd mentioned something about the possibility of a need for a stop sign somewhere?
Well,
At
that was
what
proposed
intersection?
by a citizen. And so what, they took, Chief Wells and the Forest took the prudent method of doing a study. So they gotta get a good idea of what they're looking at. And so that will help them better address the council and the city based on what they find.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not proposing a stop sign, but it's been proposed to us. So
At what intersection though?
Sycamore and
Sycamore
Division.
and Division, that was what was, now, we had a pretty in-depth discussion at Board of Works today with that.
Mhm.
And one of the things that did come out, and like I say, we didn't really come to any conclusion whatsoever at all, but one thing that was kind of looked at was that the speed that people were, you know, where people were having the perception of speeding was previous to Sycamore, so whether a stop sign at Sycamore would really affect much of anything is pretty questionable. So, we also talked about potential maybe lowering the speed limit, adjusting, you know, doing something that, to affect that, but.
I don't know,
And-
I think residential speed limit should be 20 miles, cause basically, people drive over the speed limit anyway. So if it's 30 miles an hour, people are driving 35 or 40 miles an hour, which is too fast, in my opinion, for residential. So
Well,
maybe if you
one of the
set it
things
at
you-
20 miles an hour, and they're doing 20.
One of the things you have on that street, it's one of the few places you have with a pretty long distance with no stop
Right.
signs. And,
It seems
you
to
know,
be
Union
pretty
City's
narrow.
always- yeah, it is narrow.
You're parking on both sides of the street, and it's very narrow, and I'm surprised that there hadn't been anything serious happen in that area. From Walnut to Sycamore is really,
No, there, and
Really
we went
bad.
back and looked at run data, there's been, and at least in the most recognizable recent years, there's been no traffic
yeah,
accidents, no
That's-
kids hit by
that's
cars, no
surprising
close
too,
calls,
is-
nothing.
as tight as it is down there.
We've done the first half of the study, it's been from 8 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The second half of the study will take place this week, and it'll be after dark hours, clocking speeds, so, we should have a really good picture of what's going on. The speed of traffic is not, it's not what you would think it would be, and some of it is perception, cause if you're standing still, somebody goes past you at 20 mile an hour in a 1-ton vehicle, you're going to think they're flying,
Right.
but they're still only doing 20 or 22, 24 mile an hour, so, it is for your purview. You guys will be able to make a decision how you wanna proceed. I would caution you about just saying we're gonna put it at Division and Sycamore, because you got exactly the same mirror image on Hickory,
Mm-hmm.
where you go from Jackson Pike to High
Right.
Street with no stop signs.
Right.
So if you just do one, I guarantee you're going to get a request to do the other one somewhere in the very near future. So while you're going to make these changes, I would suggest we do them all at one time.
Okay, that's
What's-
good.
Thank you for that. What struck me from your comments there was that the traffic studies from 8 to 3.
Basically
Just what,
school hours.
I'm sorry, right. What popped in my head is that if kids are going to school, they would walk before and after those times, right?
It's basically a manpower issue, Tito. We have to be able to deploy the sign. It's this is your speed. The digital sign tells you what your speed is. It also is recording all the data at the same time, so it ends up being a manpower issue to deploy the sign and get it picked up. And
Oh, I see. And I
It's also a $3,500 piece of equipment, so it has to be able to be secured, and, you know, we don't want it being stolen, we don't want it being tampered with. We've never put it out after dark. Man, am I getting hot. We've never put it out after dark, so, you know, we wanna make sure that when we do deploy it after dark, we're able to protect it, and it's there when we go to pick it up, so.
Also had a thought from a citizen that something like that itself is a deterrent.
Oh, yeah.
So naturally, people would slow down because they see it. And so it doesn't necessarily tell you whether in its absence they would be going faster or...
Yeah, and Chief Wells would absolutely agree with that. He made that comment today at the Board of Works meeting. The sign itself is a deterrent. We bought one 3 years ago maybe, and we bought the least expensive model that was available at that time. If we were looking at a trailer mounted or a pole mounted unit, it was going to be considerably more money. So if you guys want to look at something like that that's a more permanent fixture to remind everybody, that's your choice. But I'm telling you that you're getting into dollars when you know, the one we have is $3,500, and we can pick it up one person and put it in the back of the truck. So when you go to something a little bit more substantial, you're going to get into several thousands of dollars.
All right. New student representatives are Alexandria Parton and Hunter Reagan. We will actually have 2 this year. Not only to have both male and female representation, but also to be able to, with their busy schedules, to be able to coordinate. So hopefully there will always be one student representative here. And so we will look to have them sworn in at the next council meeting. Rail tower update. I actually was afforded a meeting with the Lieutenant Governor this afternoon at 2 o'clock. I arranged for that because I got a voicemail from her months ago during the height of COVID, and I saved it. And so I'm going to use that as my for another day when I really need to. So I reached out to her for that and the covered bridge, the permit on the covered bridge with DNR. Good news on both fronts. She loves the idea of moving the rail tower and what's going to be repurposed for. And she said verbatim to the individual, Steve was in the room with me on the conference call this afternoon, a Zoom call actually we had. She said to her liaison, the gentleman that works for her, she goes, I want this to happen. And she wanted to make sure that got conveyed to the appropriate parties that they're lining us up with. So very encouraging news on the rail tower to get state assistance on that through a grant initiative that they have that lines up very well to this project. Also the covered bridge, she has a contact with the DNR, and they are going to try to get that expedited for us so we get that approved and so we get that actually started. Vision Corner, I don't believe I actually shared this press update with you guys, but it's had, since Bill Corbin posted on the alumni website, I'm going to send that text to you guys. He sent it out, and unfortunately I don't have it readily available, but it's had over 10,000 views, and it's had, I don't know how many shares. I'm trying to remember how many, I mean like 133 or something like that. It was some really high number of shares. Anyway, it's gotten really, really, really strong supportive response from the alumni. And so I think it's a combination of having the school involved, combination of seeing the building, brought back to life and so forth. So there's a lot of very positive press out there regarding that project. And like I said, I will forward that. I will come up with that and forward that on to you guys so you've got to look at it. And then another thing that we are going to be in the process of doing to assist with the Backstay project is we want to close the alley that runs on the northwest between Oak and Pearl. That alley, and we want to close it in the middle, obviously, because that's the east-west route. That will stay open, but we're going to vacate that alley running north and south because they're gonna be knocking down that building next to the backstay, and that's gonna be green space. And so we don't want traffic going through there up and down that alley, north and south. So look for that in the next packet, more details on that for you guys to review.
Have all the property owners back of their property, the access to that alley been addressed or discussed with?
The two that adjoining, yes. That's the only two real property owners that utilize that it actually encounters.
Isn't there another house in there?
Who you're talking
There's a
about?
funeral home, and then there's a Pruitt's house right there, and then there's the backstay, and then the lot that the backstay has.
There's two additional properties
Yeah.
that are on North Howard Street.
There's one on Howard that has access to the alley, the east-west
Oh,
alley.
you're talking the
But
east-west.
There's one that only
That's gonna
has
stay
access to
I'm
the
talking-
That's
north-south.
east-west though.
I'm talking north-south.
Well, there's one that has both.
Yeah, there is one that has both,
North-south,
right.
The corner house on the alley, at the alley in North Howard Street has access from the east-west alley and from the north-south alley. And then there's a house that sets what would be next to the governor's mansion that also has access.
Okay, I've got to look at that because.
I thought there was two. Is there only one?
It should be both of the
Okay.
houses.
Okay.
The house on either side of the alley that starts on Howard, the east-west. Both of them would also have access to the south.
No, the house on the north side of the alley does not have access to the back because the backstay building
Juts out.
jets out there because that's the loading dock.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we will make sure that they be able to contest that if they so choose. They'll still have access from the east to west, not the north-south.
Because you're not closing these.
Yeah, you're not closing the east-west.
I'm not talking about the
north-south.
house at the east-west. I'm talking about the one that.
There's one house that has no other access other than that alley from the back, other than, so it would be.
Other than the north-south?
It would,
Correct.
other than the north-south, yeah. There's one house.
Okay.
And otherwise, it would be landlocked, or it would be locked in from the back. Whereas the other ones have access.
I'm not following. Okay, I've got to take a look at it, because I'm not, I'll take a look at it, but, well, and we'll definitely have to have that vetted out before next month's meeting. That's just a heads up, we don't
Yeah.
need to kill it now with a hammer. Presenters agenda, we have no presenters. Old business, property renovation list, do we have update on that?
We're gonna go through city council members and city manager and city attorney.
They don't have anything.
What's that?
You went from you.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Lord, yeah. Good grief, I feel like we've been talking forever. I feel like you guys have had the floor most of the time. Department heads, no department heads. Jan,
No,
okay, council members. Brandon,
The only thing I have is that we talked extensively with the presenter from last week, Brad Hoggett, about the diving blocks. I don't have an update to provide this meeting. We may have to have a formal meeting to kind of get level set on exactly how we want to move forward or what we want to present back to the council. So possibly in 2 weeks I'll have something to present at that time, but nothing else. So.
all right, Bob.
I just had one thing over the vision corner. Is there any update on the paint project for that?
It's
or
being done by K.I.S.S brothers.
are we
and so-
going to table that till next spring? or-
No, they still, last I spoke to him was a couple weeks ago when he.
I know we talked about it maybe a couple of meetings ago.
Yeah, he's still shooting this fall to get it done,
Okay.
so.
Now we have some nice weather still available, but we're running
It's
out.
dwindling though, yeah.
We're running out of time.
So it's, K.I.S.S brothers are the ones doing that project. So,
You done?
Nate.
I'm done.
go ahead.
Economic development for the county got a $250,000 grant. It's actually going to be a loan program. There are flyers at the city building. Here's this. Basically, people can apply up to $25,000. Maximum grant is $25,000. Maximum loan term is 5 years. It's 0% with no payments for first 6 months. 1% for the remainder of the loan, monthly or quarterly payments. and has potential forgiveness up to $50,000. If you are interested and want to discuss further, please reach out to CN Bales, the executive director. Her phone number and email is on this sheet, and you're a small business in Union City or outside of Union City, live in the county. Please feel free to reach out to them and see what it takes to qualify. There's been a lot of opportunity. There was $250,000 in grants already given away earlier in the year, and this is a follow-up program that's
It's
in
for
addition to it.
Up to $50,000?
$25,000.
Okay. And the forgiveness, though, you said forgiveness up to 50,000.
50%,
There you
sorry.
go, okay. Gotcha.
Thanks for clarifying.
No, no problem.
But that can be applied for after 2 years, so you can get 50% potentially forgiven after 2 years. And then Economic Development has also decided that they will pay for high school students to get OSHA 10 training, and that is through a program, through an online training program. If students feel the need or desire to get that, the county is essentially going to pay for that. But that was all I had.
Awesome. Good job. Tim,
I don't have anything.
Tito?
I don't have anything. Just wanted to add on that announcement about the loans. I did post that on Facebook, and we have an electronic application form. So if you need one, just text me or let me know, and I can get that to you.
Super. Monte?
Bun Construction has staged some piping down at the Pearl Street lot, anticipating of starting the stormwater project. And they're still trying to figure out the sidewalk ADA ramps on Columbia Street. Apparently they're going to tear out 3 or 4 more of those.
And do them 5 times each. Oh, sorry.
And it's not necessarily that Milestone did them wrong. It's just that somewhere between when the ADA guy came and inspected them and they did them, it was kind of like, yeah, they did them right, but they did them wrong. So, I don't know.
Oh, mercy.
But, and I think other than that, that's all I have.
Ryan?
Yeah, just real quickly, we had a good outcome with, what was it, 120 Oak Street.
Oh, yes, thank you for bringing that
The
up.
residents there, Kobe called me. Of course, we have our usual list of condemned houses that we'll be filing. But this was not on the list, but it was an absolute emergency. He called me, we got into court within 2 weeks, which is amazing. Went into court, we got an order allowing for the emergency, because it was an emergency, it was really bad. The court allowed the city to go in, clean up, and to evict anyone who was actually residing in there. And I think within 24, 48 hours, I believe Kobe's team, or whoever, maybe it was firefighters too, went down. Maybe street
Street
department.
department, actually.
Yeah, went out and
Did
really,
duty.
yeah, and then we're going to have the hearing on allowing the city to demolish. It's gonna be within 30 days of the emergency hearing, so it'll be coming up either, I think it's next week. So, just real quick, we filed in the circuit court, and so I'm very encouraged. I think that things will be going much quicker now, so.
So people were evicted out of there?
Well, there was apparently,
There was technically no residents there, but yes, there was people that were not technically removed, but they were prevented from staying there. They were just squatting in there for the most part.
yeah. It was probably one of the worst I've seen.
It's absolutely terrible.
So there was no running water or sewer or electricity?
No
Okay.
utilities.
Holes in the floor, walls have been removed, the siding's been removed,
Holes in the roof.
windows missing, it's terrible.
Whoever was staying there, they were doing their business in a bucket or buckets and then pouring it out the back window. And obviously the neighbors started to have issues with that, so, yeah.
So the first floor has been completely boarded up. We've gained access to the fenced-in area that we don't technically have access to, but we got access to the neighbors. And the remainder of it will be cleaned up and removed, and then hopefully, with a little bit of luck and a prayer, we'll get complete control of the house and we can just demo it.
That brings a question that I have then, is that, I would, personally, I would love to, providing we get through the court and get everything done, would love to expedite demolition of that property, because I think it's gonna be a continual problem, far worse than anything else we've had.
We have already had people back in, I guess.
Yeah,
The
'cause
size
we've
of
already
it
had trouble with
presents-
people back in,
yeah.
and I think
That's
that
crazy.
I would, if there's any possible way we can come up with the resources and get a couple of bids and get on it and get that thing down this, before winter, I'd be all for that. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think that one really needs to go away quick, if that's possible at all. Because I think it's a real hazard to the rest of the neighborhood.
Well, speaking to that, Monty, do we know,
Oh boy, yes, you're right.
do we know how old that property is? Will it potentially have asbestos that will have to get tested?
I'm sure.
Yes,
Okay. On another
That's what I
note,
was told.
That's what he just said to me.
was it?
Did you ask the question?
Did the one on Pearl Street get fully remediated?
Yes, it's completely remediated, the documentation, we've got the documentation on it, and he's turned it into,
The county?
IDEM, so.
Perfect. Do
So
we have,
it's ready to go anytime,
do we have next steps on what we're doing with that?
Brad gets back, was it Wednesday or Thursday?
yeah.
So we'll coordinate with him to get that work in their schedule, because they said they can handle the demo, or should be able to. So.
Cool.
Hey Nathan, was that the one that Jessica Holt brought up?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's all I have.
God, good one. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, thank you.
Yeah.
'Cause that was, that was huge.
To let her know.
Just a
Since I'm myself.
follow-up question. Do we do something to help, or to connect these individuals that were squatting with some kind of services or assistance or something?
Well,
Is there anything we can do?
I mean,
Well,
They run as, we don't physically have contact with them to provide them assistance. They don't want help. So,
If you'd
But-
like to provide your address and phone number, then we can
and in a simple explanation, yes, there's multiple avenues that emergency services help people in this community when they come to us and ask for help. We have, our faith-based organizations. Every single one of the churches are willing to help, and they have helped multiple times over the years. Salvation Army can help. I manage that, so that's an easy fix. There's shelters, there's all kinds of avenues we can assist with and do on a regular basis, but the people that stay in a place like that are not looking for help. That's not what they're looking for. And when we shut it down and board it up, we've taken away what they're looking for, and they go somewhere else.
any other questions? Presenters on the agenda, we do not have any old business. Now the property renovation list. Do we have any updates on?
well, we were gonna wait.
We were all supposed to do homework. Did anybody have any suggestions, modifications, or anything like that?
Yeah, because you presented, Ryan presented the packets to each one of you.
Overall, in my opinion, it lined up pretty well with what the
Yeah, I thought so too.
items Tito and Tim and I kind of put together. I think it looks good. I think it would just need updated with Union City's information. The only thing I didn't see was what's ARA stand for? It's capital A and capital R, lowercase a, and there's no information in here or referencing what ARA is.
I'm not certain what that is.
Yeah.
I can check on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is that, unsafe building?
The request
Right,
for
renovation.
property renovation list. It's what Rushville uses?
Yeah, that's, it's a housing
It looked like it was a committee of some
act,
sort.
yeah, but it's like the American renovation or something, yeah.
Well, then is it safe to
Looking at the document.
basically say you guys would like to have that ready to vote upon next council meeting? Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yep.
Will do. Ordinance number 2020-18, which is the unsafe building ordinance. This is on the second reading. Do you have any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move we approve ordinance 2020-18, unsafe building ordinance on the second reading by title only.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Frias.
Yes.
New business, ordinance 2020-19, which is the street cut ordinance. And if you recall, Monte had brought this as a kind of grease the skids with this last meeting. This is on the first reading. Monte, anything that you want to add, or are there any questions that the board has?
It's just very similar to what the city of Winchester does. Helps us keep track of, people are making cuts into our roadways and right-of-ways.
So if there's no questions, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So it requires a permit, right?
Yes.
It's to-
So I'll move that we adopt ordinance 2020-19, street cut ordinance on first reading.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I
I'll
second.
Bob gave the nod to Nate. Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Had that. Nate second.
Yeah, Nate was second, Brandon was first.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Frias.
Yes.
Okay, and following up, public hearing, we have ordinance 2020-20, which are the budget estimates. That is on the first reading. Do we have any questions regarding the first reading? If not, I would open the floor to a motion for approval.
I will make a motion that we approve ordinance 2020-20 budget estimates on the first reading.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
That was Tim, so Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Frias.
Yes.
All right, now resolution 2020-R-06. This is a declaratory resolution on regarding 125 West Chestnut. And this is for tax exemption. Monty, do you have any details on this before I throw in my 2 cents?
They are a 501c3, but they, as they tell me, they still have to apply for the exemption.
Okay, and
Do we have any details of what they're gonna be doing there, or?
that was gonna be where part one of my 2 cents was coming in. I never met this entity or this gentleman. I do not know anything they represent or what they do. And because of that, we've had entities come to us, and as you guys have already been familiar with, like Frank Miller, that's a known commodity. And so we're well aware of what they do and what they represent and what they're all about. And fortunately, I don't have that luxury with this situation, so it gives me a little bit of pause or hesitation, I guess, in throwing support behind this. Not to say that I wouldn't, but I don't know anything about it to be able to say either way.
I've heard talk, but I have no idea who even owns the
if they're asking us to do something like this, can they come and present, or?
That's, Tito, I love that, because this is exactly what I said earlier this afternoon when we talked about the situation with a fellow council member. I would feel much better if they would come and present what their vision is and how they're gonna go about achieving that. And then we would maybe have a better idea how we might play a factor in that versus blindly, voting for something.
Well, that's, like I say, basically the most detail we have is affordable housing is available to qualified low to moderate income recipients, and what that, you know, that's a pretty light description in terms of that, because that describes about 2/3 of our housing in general, so, so I think we need to have more information.
I agree.
Did anybody look, do they have a website? Could we see anything there? One yellow flag to me is they're using a Gmail account. That usually means there's not a website, but
Yeah.
there may be one somewhere. I did not look, I will admit that, but
What do I feel, is it safe to say we have a consensus that we are not in favor of moving forward with this at the moment, and
Right.
we would appreciate, as a collective governing body, that they come in and present, is that fair?
Yes.
Fair assessment.
Absolutely.
yes.
That's, okay. So done. So resolution 2020-R-07, which is a declaratory resolution as well. This is for B&M Steel.
Yeah, they've got a significant piece of machinery that they're putting in out there, and going to hire some folks, and it could develop into quite a business out there. So yeah, that's what they're basing their on, and it's just for that one piece of equipment.
Okay.
Yeah, I say they're basically doubling their workforce with this, essentially.
Yeah.
So, right now, I think the one thing I didn't, the application didn't show, or what are we thinking about as far as, term?
Yeah, good question.
Should we follow our previous precedents, or,
Yeah.
I think our.
Well, I don't know that on this particular instrument we need to do that.
Okay,
We can, I think when we do the confirmatory.
okay, yeah, okay. I always forget, we don't do this enough, I forget the process.
Yeah.
Good question.
Okay.
Any questions? If not, I would, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I heard something.
No.
Mask. If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I would move we approve resolution, 2020-R-07, declaratory resolution for B&M Steel.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
That was Bob. All those, Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leyer.
Yes.
Nathan Conklin.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
All right, and lastly, this is exciting, of course, piggybacking on the conversation I had with you earlier regarding our lieutenant governor, I gotta give big kudos and call out to Nate. He was pursuing, on a personal level, potential move of a structure, and then turn around, I hope you don't mind me sharing that, 'cause but then he's like, you know what, you do this for a living, what about, we got a rail tower down. And he was very straightforward with it. He said, this is what we've been quoted previously, just so you know what you're getting into, because I don't want to waste your time if you don't think you can be competitive. And the company, if you know anything about this company that does this, holy smokes. Yes, you got the
Has anybody on council not heard or seen this?
No, it's.
It's impressive as all get
You
out.
saw it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Do yourself
take a look at
favor,
that.
through that.
Yes.
That thing is so impressive. I took it home to my 14-year-old son to look through, and he spent quite a bit of time.
I'm carrying it with me because I keep showing people.
Pretty cool.
It's really awesome. And this company, the nice thing is too, the previous company that had quoted, they were out of Ohio, and Nate had even called him up. I called him up like 4 or 5 months ago, and they said, yeah, we'll still stand by that quote. Well, in that time, they've kind of gotten away from that because they called them up again and said, well, we're really not going to do that anymore. And so that prompted the call to this company, I believe, correct?
A little bit of research, they're like number one in the industry.
Yeah, and they're also local. They're in Indiana. Well, I mean, they're nationwide, but they've got a Fort Wayne branch.
Yeah.
And the previous quote was $68,000 for the rail tower. This puppy come in at 42 and change, I think. So, man, I was like, Nate and I talked that night. He sent the quote out, and I was like, holy smokes, you just found us $26,000. And so, because of that, that made for a much smoother conversation, as Steve was witness to with the Lieutenant Governor, because we've already raised quite a few funds already locally for the rail tower, but because of this new quote, now we're seriously in the game. And now, because of the avenue that they are providing for us from the Lieutenant Governor's office, now we're talking about funds not only to move it, but to get it renovated completely on the spot, so it's a project from beginning to end, as opposed to getting it moved and then having to wait quite a while until we can get it renovated.
And that's why I wanted it on the agenda, was because this is actually like step 3. Step 1 is we need to come up with a design for what we want the inside of it to be,
Yep.
and then 2 would be to pour the concrete foundation, and then that's where they set it.
Yes.
So, I honestly, I didn't expect, I told him 60, whatever the number was, and he's like, oh, we'll be close to that. When he came in this much lower, I'm like, wow, this seems feasible now. So, I was intrigued and figured I wanted to bring it up to see if we want to put a little group together to work with some contractors to get some quotes for the concrete pour and laying out and tying electrical, plumbing, and sewage all to it, because that's the thing that actually has to be done in the foundation before that building goes and sits on top of it.
And I would like to have our guys tied into that,
Yes.
because I know Brad has said that there's some stuff they can do as well. And so I would love for us to do that and see what we can come up with. Well, to Nate's question, is there anybody that has an affinity for this project and would like to be involved with it in terms of the planning stage?
I'd be happy to be.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
It's kind of in my neighborhood, so.
Awesome. Yeah, so you see it, so.
Cool.
Well, good. Well, when Brad gets back, we'll try to get something coordinated, and then also, Monte, if you don't mind, if you reach out to a few local contractors and
Sure.
see if we can start getting some guys that be interested in stepping in and maybe joining us or giving their 2 cents worth. And
I would probably have Dan go take a look at it and measure it and give us a set of prints to work off of before we
Good
start
idea.
talking to contractors. Our history with rock proves that.
Yeah, that's true.
That visual image of what the plan is eliminates any refiguring or changes down the road.
good move. And he would also have obviously vested interest in the local structure. And I'm curious too, that begs the next question, being able to get him access in there, so he can take a look.
We got in there, I think no problem.
Okay, well, I didn't hear that, but okay, great.
You could peek in a window or 2.
Yeah. So it says the pigeon hanging out front. All right, well, super. Well, again, it's exciting because that really will help add a lot to that Artisan Crossing. And what was cool, it was cool when she mentioned the grant that she's going to have John Redder was his name, that was her liaison, and the 4 of us were on this call together. And he goes, well, it needs to be a place, like community space. Okay, well, check. Provides for a gathering spot for people. Okay, check. You know, and then serves a public need, or the rest, check. You know, it's like, okay, well, this is like through and through. This is the right project. So, yes, Tim.
I wonder if the Lieutenant Governor her office might be able to give us a little help with one utility that we have to.
Oh, the poles coming down.
He did say that has to come down before he moves.
Yes. Yes.
So we've struggled with that, and with that.
Who's got chainsaws?
We were having discussion about this at Board of Works, and my suggestion was kind of bring it up to the railroad and see if they have any pole, but I think this is a lot better.
Yeah, this will go a lot quicker because railroad might take 4 more years before
Well,
we.
yeah, you just sometimes you get one of those where you bring it up and they go, oh yeah, I know somebody there. I'll get them. I'll give them a call and boot them a little bit. But I'd say that the Lieutenant Governor's office might have some sway.
I just communicated with John again this afternoon after our
Don't you
call, so I'd be more than happy to follow up with
I
him.
think that would be,
Yeah,
cause if that doesn't, I mean, that kinda, we could be dead in the water until we get that done.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The plans for moving, in case any of you are interested, is they'll lift it roughly 30 or 40 inches off the ground, go through that parking lot, across to Pearl, come right across through this side, and then right behind where right behind where the stage is, and that's where the poles would come into play. The wire, where the wire's at, and the poles would be in the way for them to set it in the final
Street
structure.
lights, anything we good there? or
Street lights,
what-
there was not a big deal.
Power lines out this
The-
Nope.
way?
The stoplights was the only thing they were going to have to move the arms out of the way. so
Just
they
a
could
little
get
bit.
across
Swing
the
those,
528.
Yeah, and they said, we
That's
very
good.
familiar with that, it swings, we block it off temporarily, it moves through, we swing them back, and everything's
Yeah.
good. But,
And the biggest thing, to Nate's point too, in terms of we've gotta do a lot to prep for this, to make sure that's all done right, but the other thing then too that's equally important is the day it is moved, we've got to make that a huge extravaganza.
yes.
Because that's a piece of history literally in motion. And so we've gotta publicize that to the hill and have some things planned around it, because there will be people, I guarantee you, there'll be people that will pitch lawn chairs and watch that.
Well,
Yeah, and I might be one of them too.
quite frankly,
That'd be great to
that's a
watch,
good
yeah.
point, in that we might as well make an event out of it, because we've got to control it anyway.
Yes, exactly,
Same deal.
yeah.
We've got-
Yeah, you're right,
We've
we're
got to
gonna block it
control
off
the
every so
safety
much.
aspect anyway, so it
Yeah.
might as well be an event.
Yes, yeah, because it would
Is that-
behoove us to have
from
some
the public-
stations here.
Yeah.
From your aspect, from their,
Absolutely.
your
because
professional
it'll be an observation disaster. I mean, there'll be people lining the streets.
so we've got to be prepared to control it anyway, so.
So anyway, really cool stuff. So, yeah, as soon as Brad gets back, we'll start getting things planned and we'll reach out to Dan right away too.
I'm actually, seeing him this week, so I'll
Oh,
I'll
awesome,
mention it and make sure we all get together.
cool, thank you. All right, any visitors?
There's 6 screws in the door, so.
Any visitors that we would have, that would like to address the council? If not, the date of our next city council meeting is Monday, October 12th at 6 p.m. The date of our next Board of Public Works meeting is also Monday, October 12th, and that is at 1 p.m. I would hereby entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have a first, we have a second?
I second. Bob can have that one, Bob can have that one.
Bob's
take
got
that.
that one.
I'll take that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.